Hi, welcome to Roll & Review's D&D Tips. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're talking about pacing.
So this is an issue that a lot of DMs have and a lot of groups have. So we're going to do some really quick tips to help your pacing in your game.
Yeah, usually it's just a couple simple fixes and then the game really starts flowing. I know for me, sometimes the social things can go way too long. People take a long time. It's very disorganized. So what I find helps me in my games is something called social initiative. Everyone rolls a d20. Whoever goes first is the person with the highest number, and then you go each time.
Yeah, that really helps out because a lot of people in the game, they're like, oh, I want to go to the market, I want to go to the blacksmith, and you have the whole party kind of screaming at you as a DM, and you're kind of flustered and don't know what to do. That social initiative will help out your party as a whole and will keep your table nice and calm. So whenever I DM, a big issue I had at first was pacing encounters. Having battles where they were taking forever, where they were fighting a group of monsters and it took 2 hours, which gets boring after a while and it gets really repetitive and I hate it, my players hate it. So what I did was I started timing missions. So I would tell my players, okay, this is a timed mission, so you guys have to hurry up, and I would usually have a set of consequences. So in the background, maybe a bunch of orcs have captured some civilians. Well, if my party didn't get to the town and slay the orcs in, let's say, 10 minutes time, the civilians would die. So there would be consequences for my players' actions in how fast or how slow they did things.
Another thing to watch out for is maybe your encounters are a little too tough. Maybe your enemies have a little too much health for what's going on. Really pay attention. If it's taking all of your players attacking one thing, several turns of combat, you might need to tone it back just a little bit. Another thing players can do is when they know their turn is coming up, they really need to prepare their turn. They need to be thinking about their turn beforehand. I know I've had a lot of players who it'll come to their turn and they'll be like, well, I could do this or do this. No, players need to make the decision on their own and they need to do combat like that.
Yeah, players need to be decisive. I know for me, in our first game, I was horrible. I took, like 7 or 8 minutes for my turns. And
he was playing a 4th edition shaman and he would just read all of these spells. He didn't have note cards.
Didn't have note cards.
And that is something that is huge for organization, for players and for DMs, is having all of your spells, your weapons, any attack you're going to do right on a note card.
Yeah.
That way you can just flip through it. You know this spell does this, have all the information right there, and then it's done.
Yeah, I know when I played that shaman, I didn't have note cards. I kept going through the player's handbook, had to flip through every spell, and the organization in that book isn't great. So if you have note cards, you've got every spell there right in front of your fingertips, and you're ready to go. So that can help a big amount with players in battles. So as a last resort measure, if your party keeps going so slow and the pacing doesn't pick up, as a DM, you could insert a consequence. So for example, let's say Dylan's taking too long on his turn and it's been weeks and weeks and he's still taking 10, 12 minutes on his turns. I could tell Dylan that after a certain amount of time, maybe your character is too tired, he's flustered. For some reason, he can't seem to fight. He's kind of stuck in battle, and I'll skip his turn. Now, as a DM, I would have this timer set up behind my DM screen, so Dylan doesn't know how much time he has. However, this will kickstart Dylan and will make him think about, okay, I don't get to have my turn. So this can really work, although, like I said, last resort, we don't want to punish players too much.
Remember, a lot of this is just the players maybe feeling a little overwhelmed with all the spells, what they have to do, the numbers they have to add. So taking the time and just really learning what your attacks do, what modifiers you're adding to it can just help speed up encounters so much.
Yeah, so as a player, just know your character. As a DM, know your encounters, and your pacing should improve from that.
One thing to watch out for, and this isn't so much a pacing issue as just a DM needing to let go of the game that he's took so hard to craft, is simply letting players talk to each other. I know for me as a DM, sometimes I'm like watching the clock and I'm like, man, they're taking a long time. But for a player, that's half the fun, is settling disputes or talking about a fight that just happened or your player being really excited. And sometimes as a DM, I won't talk for almost an hour because the players are just going at it with each other. It's a wonderful thing that happens in the game when people are truly role-playing.
Yeah, that was like yesterday. My character had an issue with one of our party members, and we actually had a physical brawl between our characters. Now, this took, 40 minutes?
Yeah.
It took a long time. However, we let it play out because it's character growth, it's character development. And as a game, especially as a DM, you have to realize this isn't a pacing issue. This isn't something that's holding back your party. It's actually making them grow. And if you see that things like these are kind of going on too long, it hit that 40-minute mark. One of the other characters actually came in and stepped in and broke up the fight. And this was because Dylan asked the character, okay, roll a check to see if you can stop the fight.
Not only that, but as a DM, I could have had an NPC stop. I could have thrown a monster at them if I really wanted to, but it's just creative things like that of letting the characters kind of dish it out, have their own moments that makes Dungeons & Dragons what it really is.
Alright guys, well that's our video on pacing. We'll be back next week with another tip video, so thanks for watching and we'll see you then.
See ya!